Welcome once again to councillors and those of you in the public gallery. Item 54, apologies.
Yep, councillors Ahmed, Allcott, St Mariners, Shaw and Wellington.
And I've just had a note from Councillor Grocott. She is coming to the meeting, but she's feeding baby at the moment and will be here 10 minutes late. So, but she is coming. So, thank you. Any declaration of personal or prejudicial interest or requests? No. Thank you. So at this point I will close the meeting for the public session. I'd like to give everybody the opportunity to speak on the matters that are on the agenda this evening. So I open the floor for brief questions, please.
I'd like to ask something if that's possible. I don't know what your intentions are about selling the garages, but if the garages are sold, then I personally think that no money should be lost. It should be put for auction with a reserve price of 35 grand, plus auction fees, solicitors' fees and everything else what's involved on top of that. And I think there should be a reserve price, a reserve on it, because I don't think the public money should be lost. Any public money should be lost at all. I mean, you might not be thinking of selling them, but we can't speak later on, can we? So that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Thank you. Yes.
This is to the Chair. At the time the garages were being considered for purchase, you were the councillor who clearly raised concerns about the lack of valuation, survey and business case, committing what was a significant proportion of the council's annual precept, around 36% under those circumstances. Now that you are Chair, could you explain how you have led the council in preparing for the proposals the parish council is considering tonight? In particular, what evidence has been gathered to inform decisions include current valuation, viable alternative uses for the garages and any engagement with residents about their needs. Given the outcome so far and the feedback from the internal auditor regarding low reserves, what assurance can you give that this is not a case of repeating the same lack of preparation in reverse, and that sufficient work has been done to ensure the next decision is robust and in the best interest of the community?
Thank you for the question, and I will answer you directly. Most of your answers will come under item 58. Much work has been done, and yes, you're quite right, I was the one who raised all of those concerns initially. And because of my concerns and proper practice and process, I can assure you that most of the answers to those questions, in fact all of the answers to those questions, will come out during 58, where you can obviously hear the discussion and the deliberation.
I will look forward to those answers.
Thank you.
I have a question. I make no apologies for it not being brief. Taken directly as posted by the council. Extraordinary meeting of the parish council to discuss the purchase of the garage plot in Mill Lane, Wetley Rocks at Cheddleton Community Centre, 7th of October 2025. Councillors were asked to vote upon whether the price should be disclosed. Councillor Rogers said that she had some questions from the public. 1. If the land was purchased, would it remain the property of the parish council or would it be sold on for profit? 2. Are we sure that the property has not been sold to a third party already? 3. Is it being bought with private or public money? 4. Is this the best way of using public money? Councillor Ahmad replied that the money the council spends on the plot will be an asset because the land will only increase in value. He stated furthermore that the plot is next to his property and people park there when dropping children off at school and picking them up again. He said that the village needed more parking. Councillor Ahmad insisted that as far as he's concerned, the property would remain as the property of the parish council and would not be sold on for development. Councillor Rogers said that she had a further question: would the garages be sold on for profit? Councillor Ahmad pointed out that he had already answered this question. A question asked on the 24th of March this year. The purchase of the garages at Wetley Rocks has cost parishioners more than 36% of the 25-26 precept, and that's just the purchase price. Given this significant expenditure and the lack of planning to build reserves ahead of LGR, I wish to raise questions about the Chair's influence over what many consider a rash and poorly informed decision. Conflict of interest rules exist to safeguard both decision makers and the integrity of the decision-making process. It's not enough for the process to be fair, it must also seem to be fair. Any departure from these principles in such a sensitive matter risk undermining public confidence in the fairness, transparency and legitimacy of the Council's proceedings. I have spoken with Monitoring Officer Mark Trillo, who confirms that Councillor Ahmad would have a potential interest to declare when the Council is considering something that could impact that interest. It is for the Council to determine whether they have an interest based on the nature of the item. In light of recent events and the Monitoring Officer's guidance, I would like to ask the Chair, why did he not declare, and why has he still not declared, a non-pecuniary interest, given the proximity of the garages and the potential for perceived advantage? At the October meeting, both Councillor Worthington and Councillor Ahmad stated that he could have just bought them himself, which clearly indicates a potential advantage to Councillor Ahmad. Why did he not withdraw from discussion and voting as required by the Code of Conduct when a reasonable member of the public might judge this to be a clear conflict of interest? To all councillors, how will the Council ensure compliance with conflict of interest rules in future decision making, and what steps will be taken to restore public confidence in the Council's stewardship of public funds? Will all advice received from the clerk and the solicitor regarding the purchase of the garages, including advice relating to the Chairman's interests, be published for public scrutiny? Standing orders 3V, page 7. A councillor who has a disclosable pecuniary interest or another interest as set out in the Council's Code of Conduct in a matter being considered at a meeting must make a declaration of interest and leave the room while the vote is cast. Code of Conduct 9.1. You are personally responsible for deciding whether or not you should disclose an interest in a meeting, but it can be helpful for you to know early on if others think that a potential conflict might arise. It is also important that the public know about any interest that might have to be disclosed by you or other councillors when making or taking part in decisions, so that decision making is seen by the public as open and honest. This helps to ensure that public confidence in the integrity of local governance is maintained. Now, given the response from the MO, the vicinity of the garages, Councillor Ahmad's previous expression of interest, the capability or possibility of a private purchase by himself, confirmed by both Councillor Worthington and Councillor Ahmad during the summer of 2025. And I apologise for this part of the question appearing irrelevant, because I did not anticipate that the councillor would be absent. Is Councillor Ahmad going to employ his integrity and abstain from voting, or is he going to demonstrate a lack of integrity to residents by voting on the future of the garages? However, that question may be relevant in your future meetings. So that's my question, a lot of which is just statement, isn't it?
Firstly, I'm not able and I will not speak on behalf of Councillor Ahmed, who has tendered his apologies for this evening's meeting. It's not appropriate for me to make any attempt to answer any question other than to say that you will hear this evening a discussion, comments by other councillors on the options that are available for consideration with regard to the future of the site at Wetley Rocks.
And past promises
By who?
that are in this statement, will they be
By
considered?
Councillor Ahmed.
Well,
I think I'd rather move on to the next question. Thank you.
no surprise there.
Yes.
Mine's not going to be as long as Helen's, but hopefully we'll get some exposure to a possible answer during the conversations you're going to have. For me, 58D is the key